Greetings gamers, Wolfinz here, and I'm a pretty big James Bond fan. Surprisingly, I haven't mentioned it on the channel, besides a few nods here and there. That's why today, I'm excited to be covering 007 Nightfire, a 6th-gen first-person shooter starring James Bond. Some fans even think it's better than Goldeneye. And so do I. 007 Nightfire was released in November of 2002 for the Xbox, GameCube, and PlayStation 2. It was a follow-up to the previous year's game, 007 Agent Under Fire, which was an alright game all things considered, but it was a little too short and anticlimactic, and that's what your mom said last night. And the less said about the PC port of Nightfire, the better. They also made a version of Nightfire for Ants on the Game Boy Advance, because why not? So, as usual, we will be using the GameCube port via Dolphin, despite me actually owning this game on the Xbox. Technically, this title is backwards compatible on the 360, however the driving sections and on-rail missions are completely broken and will cause the game to crash, meaning only 7 of the 12 levels are actually playable. But on the bright side, at least you can still do deathmatch. Now stop using Oddjob's hat, you cheating bastard.
Bullshit! This is utter bullshit!
On a side note, Dolphin has a weird visual glitch with select EA games, including most of the Bond titles. There's this weird artifacting that only occurs during cutscenes if you do not have a specific setting enabled. Additionally, this game actually has a native widescreen option, but it's hidden in the options menu, and I didn't realize that until after I recorded my playthrough, so I apologize to any widescreen enthusiast if that bothers you. So without further ado, let's get into what is easily 007's second most beloved video game adventure. 007 Nightfire makes the effort to be a more cinematic Bond game than the previous efforts. Not only does this game have pre-rendered fully voiced cutscenes and an original story, but it also has the likeness of the then-current Bond actor Pierce Brosnan, even if he doesn't lend his own voice. This is a major step up over the generic Bond of the previous game. He looked like a melted wax sculpture of George Lazenby.
Is anything the matter, Sir?
Whoa, I'm getting a boner. The game comes fully stocked with the usual Bond tropes, including a pre-title sequence. However, in this case, it serves as a tutorial level. The first half of the level is on rails and mostly serves to introduce you to the Bond moves. Bond moves are essentially tricks that 007 himself would do in one of his movies, and by performing enough of them, you can earn a higher rank, which can unlock stuff in multiplayer. Or you could just be a cheating bastard like me and look up all the cheat codes on Google and get all of the characters and maps that you want. Now, the second half of the mission is a driving section that uses the Need for Speed engine. I'm not too familiar with the Need for Speed games, I'm more of a Burnout guy myself, but the driving in this game still feels really solid. It is a blast getting to fire missiles, use gadgets, and use one of Bond's tricked out cars. It really scratches that itch that 007 Racing never could. The only advantage that game has is an appearance by Sheriff J.W. Pepper, which finally confirms he was not left to rot in the Taiwanese prison after the man with the golden gun. A lot of Bond fans really like the title song of Nightfire, but personally, I don't really care for it. And I'd rank it on the lower end, but hey, it's better than the theme song from Never Say Never Again! After beating the pre-title sequence, we enter what is possibly one of the best introduction levels in a first-person shooter game ever. There are so many ways you can go about this. You can go in all guns blazing, or take a stealthy approach. Personally, I like to jump in the pickup truck and sneak by the guards. Throughout this level, I love getting to use my silenced weapons. I like to try to stealthily take down the guards as I prepare to infiltrate the castle. After going on a killing spree, you gain entrance to the castle, and you get one of those fun scenes where 007 is pretending to be a wealthy playboy at a party to get more information on the villain. Almost every Bond film has a scene like that. Oh, this reminds me, I should probably bring up the story. So Bond is sent to investigate a wealthy CEO by the name of Drake. Drake has plans to use a defense satellite to conquer the Earth. Wait a minute. This sounds familiar. This is just Moonraker. In that movie, Bond investigates a wealthy industrialist named Drax, who plans to wipe out all life on Earth using his space station. Not only are the villains' schemes similar, but so are their appearances and names. Gosh, Moonraker is such a goofy movie. How ridiculous is it for an evil rich man to have his own space agency? That's just silly, and that could never ever happen in the real world. Now, of course, there are other characters in the game too, such as Dominique, a French agent. We have M, who is played by a Judi Dench impersonator, and Q makes an appearance. However, Q looks more like a Half-Life scientist than he does Desmond Llewellyn or John Cleese. In all honesty, the plot isn't something to write home about. It doesn't stand toe-to-toe with some of the more involved Bond stories like From Russia with Love or On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but the game is more about the presentation than it is the story, and it's ultimately just an excuse to get from one action set piece to another, so essentially it's not any different than most of Pierce Brosnan's Bond movies. Let's get into the meat and potatoes, the levels. Here are a few of my favorites. I really enjoy the level where you have to drive through a snowy resort. You have to avoid civilian casualties. This means you have to use non-lethal means to take out the local law enforcement. Afterwards, the game rewards you with a really sick shootout with the enemies, where you even get to take down a couple of helicopters. There's this level where you explore an office complex, and you have to use tranq darts to take out the civilian guards. However, your tranq dart supply is limited, so you really have to be smart about it and try to sneak by when you can. I also enjoy the level where you get to fight the Yakuza. Your main goal is to rescue hostages, and as an adult I find this really easy, but as a kid I would accidentally shoot the hostages and have to restart from a checkpoint. There's also a mini escort mission, but don't worry, this is nothing like Resident Evil 4. The level even ends with a badass fight against a ninja. Towards the later half of the game, there's a really cool level where you have to take out several groups of sniper nest, all while navigating over death-defying heights. Now, a lot of gamers really dislike the underwater level. This is where you get to use the famous submarine car. Somebody on this development team really loved Roger Moore, and I can see why. He's literally the best Bond. What other Bond has a post-bath cigar? The only thing Craig has is cock and ball torture and depression. The worst part about this level is the lack of checkpoints. There is this moment at the end that always kills me on a first run, and a surge of anger fills my body whenever I have to restart all the way from the beginning. Besides that, I still really like the level. And could this game really be complete without an awesome final set piece set in space, where you get to use a laser gun? I think not. Now, there are a few other levels I didn't cover here, and I think they're all worth checking out. Overall, this game has a lot of replay value. Now, is this game better than Goldeneye? Well, that's a tough say. One aspect of this game that outshines Goldeneye is its variety. I'm less thrilled by the on-rail shooting sections. I find them to be a little tedious and boring, but the driving levels are a blast, and it's fun to have this break from the standard first-person shooting sections. The stealth mechanics are more in-depth, and there are more ways you can approach levels. The difficulty is also more balanced than Goldeneye, with the only major rage-inducing moment occurring during the underwater level. Of course, only discussing the single player of these games would be doing a great disservice. Both of these titles offer a fun-filled 4-player deathmatch. Both of these games have an excellent pool of weapons to choose from. Both of these games have unlockable characters from the movies, such as Oddjob, Baron Samedi, and Jaws. However, Nightfire has more unlockable characters. This game came from a weird era where Eon Productions would not let good guy characters fight each other in the video games. so you can't have Bond fighting Pussy Galore, for example. Nightfire also has a solid map selection, with personal favorites being the Alpines and Fort Knox from Goldfinger. One major advantage of Nightfire multiplayer is that Deathmatch and the other multiplayer modes can be played with bots. This can bring added chaos to multiplayer, or you can even do a single player session this way. Now, despite all of the advantages that Nightfire has over Goldeneye, the shooting ultimately feels better in Goldeneye, and sometimes that's enough. Is Nightfire one of the greatest games of all time? No. But is it a solid license game? Yes. And it's a really good game on its own right. If you're a Bond fan, or a fan of action games from this era, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Thank you for watching, and thank you for waiting patiently for this video. I would like to start uploading more regularly. I am almost finished getting my college degree. I just had the toughest semester yet. I'm not entirely sure what my schedule will look like after I finish school. Perhaps I will have more time to work on videos. Perhaps I'll have less, maybe I'll have the same. But no matter what, I will always be creating videos for this channel. Even if it takes a few months between uploads, no matter what, I should be able to do more live streams for you lovely people. Anyways, before we close today's video, I would like to announce that I have a Patreon. If you want to get your name in future video credits, participate in polls, and see videos early, follow the link in the description. Times are tough out there, but a little bit of support goes a long way. Oh, and before I forget, if you enjoyed today's video, remember to like and subscribe. In the meantime, rock on and wolf out.
That's all, gamers.